Good afternoon and good morning to you, wherever you're joining from. It's afternoon here in sunny South Africa. I'm very excited to bring you today's show, going live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. So wherever you're streaming from, please say hello, join the conversation. This is live. This is your conversation as much as it is mine, but I'm really going to enjoy this one. Today's guest is a great man indeed. Jeff Hoffman is very sought after all around the world. Just finished off his last interview and hopping in straight in with us. He's got a great background, but most notably in the last couple of years is the chairman of the Global Entrepreneurship Network. He goes around the world helping entrepreneurs. And well, let's get into it. I won't waste any more time on discussing him. Let's talk with him, and please stay with me, ask your questions, make it interactive. My name's Alex McPhail. This is High Performance Teams. Hello, Jeff. Good day and welcome to you. How are you?
Thank you, Alex. So I want to know, in that photo, was that you flying that South African plane?
In that photo, excuse me, I was first flying the little plane in formation, which is this little plane as well, with then painted blue.
Wow, what is that?
It's a Swiss airplane. It's the Air Force trainer in South Africa. You have a similar kind of one in your Air Force too. It's a little 700 horsepower basic trainer for the Air Force. And I was flying in formation with the South African plane, which is the current job that I have now, and it was my last flight in the Air Force, and I had already joined the airline, so it's a nice photo because
it's really cool. I had that.
It married over nicely, yeah. So it was good. So first up, I just want to just set the record straight about some incorrect information. But if we can kick off with this topic, Jeff, for you. One of the interviews that I read about in the last couple of weeks, doing a bit of research, was you passing through an airport and trying to understand why you can't print your own boarding pass. And that reminds me of a time where if you lost that piece of paper, you were done for.
Yeah.
As a passenger, that was bad news. A piece of paper was what it was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So maybe let's kick off there if you like, and
Sure.
where we sit today at the airport.
Alex, you're right, because those were currency. That ticket was actually currency. You could hand it back and get your money back for that. So you could not lose those. But for me at this point, it's interesting because I'm an engineer by trade. But I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I had one engineering job at a big engineering company, and I couldn't do it. That's right out of college. I could not work in the environment at the company I was at. There's nothing about right or wrong. It's a DNA thing. I just couldn't do it. Ironically, it turns out that the major corporation I worked for failed to value sarcasm as much as I do. So I didn't get along with my boss. I was unemployed. Plus, I felt like I spent all the time trying to please the boss, not the customer. And I was like, this can't be right. So I left. Now I'm unemployed, 20-something years old. And I went to the airport. I bought a ticket to see my mentor. And I got to the airport. When you're broke, an airline ticket's expensive. And the line back then, you had to wait to check in get your boarding pass with the ticket agent. And it took an hour and I missed the flight. And when you miss your flight, they just cancel it and it's very expensive. I was very upset. And I was kind of, I would say discussing with the lady. She wouldn't say that. I was like, how is it that we stand in line for an hour so you can hit print on your stupid keyboard? Yeah. She's like, what? I said, all you do is ask me my name, look at my ID, then hit print, and you give me a piece of paper. A boarding card's a piece of paper from a printer. And she's like, next customer. And I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. And she's like, next customer. So I stood there and everybody was complaining in line. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this again. There has to be a better way. And I went home and I had nowhere to go and nothing to do anyway. Like I said, unemployed and broke. And I said, hey, you know what? What if I just designed a way that you could check yourself in and get your own boarding pass? So for people that have checked in at a kiosk in airports pretty much all over the world, that was my first invention, basically. Got a patent on the back end software and started selling those in airports all over the world. That was my first startup, which, Alex, I had no idea what I was doing. But again, the reason I love the name of your podcast, High Performance Teams, is the only reason I succeeded was because I figured out that if I could put together a high performance team, we could probably do this because I didn't know how to do it on my own.
Okay, so yeah, that sounds like that's a great place to start there, Jeff. Thanks, and I agree. It's teamwork, and at that point, excuse me, at that point, was there a bunch of people already? Did you join a team that was already working on what would become Priceline, or was this the kicking off point with the idea of connecting travel and making things simpler, and tech and travel and airports and all that together?
Yeah. So when I started in that business, I started that by myself. And went and rounded up a team and created that product. And that product led to me creating in my own little company. I realized that you've checked in it. Well, you might not. You don't have to stop at the kiosk in your world. But the rest
we have different trouble. When you wear uniform, yeah, there's different kinds of trouble for aircrew. But okay, yeah.
I just figured out what would have got me through the line faster than a kiosk. I just need a shirt like you're wearing, and then I'm good, right?
All sorted.
So we realized that the technology we created that allows you to speak to the kiosk in English to access your reservation, check in, change your seat or whatever, what we had to do was get airline reservations out of airlines' computer systems and put them in English, right? Because that's not the language they're written in the back office. So then we got the thought that why couldn't we just book the whole trip in the first place as a consumer on your computer? So in my own startup, I started developing the core technology for online booking. And that's where this story comes together because I wound up doing two different things. I wound up in a private company where we did a deal with Bill Gates and Microsoft to help build Expedia. My team provided that back-end technology. But there was a gentleman named Jay Walker who was an intellectual property, really an inventor. And Jay had created a concept called buyer-driven commerce, the name your own price algorithm, that he had patented this thing under the title of a reverse auction. And Jay wanted to build a travel company that allowed you to name your own price for an empty airline seat and then later an empty hotel room. So
what year is this? 96-ish, or where are we talking now?
No, yes, 97.
I mean, it's like space age thinking back then. This was
late 96, going into 97. So Jay and I knew each other from the travel industry. Our company, fortunately, had received a lot of recognition and won a lot of awards for the tech that we created. So that's where the pieces came together for me. Jay got this idea, let's create this thing that turned out to be Priceline, and started assembling a team of people. And so he called me, and we had a team of people gather to go launch this new company. So that's how the pieces fit. We all came together to launch an idea that Jay had for using the structure in travel. Okay,
well, that sounds good. And it looks like one of your colleagues says, Stephen Aluko says, I was part of that team.
It's so nice to see him. That's what I'm grinning. I see it on your screen. Yes, Stephen was. Stephen joined us early on in the Priceline days and was a very, very valuable member of our tech team.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks for joining in, Stephen. And bring your questions. It's time to put Jeff in the hot seat. We'll continue our conversation, and people, you're welcome to ask your questions and add to it as well. So I want to fast forward a little bit now, and we'll jump around a bit as we can. Okay, so that's your sort of kickoff point. But now, if we fast forward all the way to a handful of years ago, there's another nice meeting and presentation you gave that I watched. You get to a point in life where feeling maybe a little bit not unsatisfied, but that just becoming successful and wealthy doesn't tick all the boxes for you. And you decide, not telling anybody particularly publicly, but you won't say no to any request for 1 year. Tell me about that thought process and how nervous. I mean, it's a big commitment with yourself, but also it must be a bit nerve-wracking.
It was, because I had no idea what was going to happen next. So I had made a commitment. I'll put it to you this way, Alex. One day somebody said to me, man, your life's like been this adventure. And I was thinking of that blessing that I've been able to do a lot of things that I dreamed of and some I never dreamed of. And I saw it in television commercial flashed in my head, and it said, this adventure brought to you by entrepreneurship. And I was like, the reason that I'm getting to do some things I really wanted to do in my life is because of my choice to become an entrepreneur. So I thought I need to pay that debt back to the field of entrepreneurship. Plus, I hit a point, honestly, Alex, where I even felt a little bit guilty that I had a lot of friends who were struggling and a lot of people in the world struggling financially, especially, and my businesses were working. We had multiple businesses. The first business I told you about, the travel tech company, we were able to sell. And so I was out there able to make millions of dollars and other people were struggling, and it didn't sit right with me. And I thought, I've got to find some way to give back for the blessings that I've received, since I got more than my fair share. So here was my idea. My last startup, in between, post Priceline, I did a music company, then a television film company, then another tech company called ubid.com, which we also took public. And I was the CEO of another public internet company. It became a multi-billion-dollar company. I finally decided, and I'll tell you what triggered it. I saw a sign, Alex, and it said, "You may be successful, but do you matter?" And I was stunned. It was walking down the street, and I was like, what does that mean? And it means that success is another exit, another sale, another dollar. Success is making your life better, but mattering is making other people's lives better. And I was like, am I doing anything to make anybody else's life better but mine? So I realized that was the commitment I made. So I resigned. We were able to sell the last company. I resigned from my CEO life and stepped down from the public company role. And this is 2011. And in 2012, I said, look, I'm going to take a year off. And as you said, I didn't tell anybody. I'm going to take a year of yes, but I'm not going to tell people. What I'm going to do for 1 year is as a means of giving back. And yeah, it's supposed to be difficult. You can't just take the easy path. For 1 year, I am going to give back by saying yes to anybody that asks me for help for a whole year. And I won't make a dollar. I won't do any business deals. I won't go to my office. And I have no idea where I'm going to be tomorrow. So yeah, it was kind of daunting, right?
Can I clarify? So is it yes to opening doors, yes to help with business plans, yes to anything they ask? Is there limits?
Yeah, there were the limits of reason, things I could really help with. Sure. So most of that was, I'll give you an example. The second call I got when I started my year of yes. Again, I didn't tell anybody I was doing that. I have this TED Talk that's out there on their website, and it's called The Power of Childlike Wonder. That
was amazing. I enjoyed that so much.
Okay. Thank you. So I get this email. It is from a 19-year-old kid in West Africa in a village. And the email says, "Dear Mr. Hoffman," actually, we'll tell you what it really said. It said, "Dear Mr. Hoffman, I know you won't read my email, and if you do, I know you'd never answer." So I was like, oh man, it's on now, okay?
Game time.
So I immediately answered, and I said, "What's up?" And he said, "Life is tough in the villages. They live in homes out of packed mud, dirt floors. There's no water, no electricity." He lives in a village in West Africa, in Senegal to be exact. And he said, "I have ideas on how to make life better in my village, in my area, in my country, but I have no idea how to start and how to build a company." And so I said, "All right, be right there." And so you can imagine how crazy that trip was. So that's an example.
You went out there. That's it. I went to Dakar.
I went to, that's where I went. And I went out to the village, and I'll just, in the interest of time, tell you the punchline. This kid today, I've been mentoring him ever since. He has 350 employees in 7 West African countries, and he actually builds real houses with water and electricity for his employees now. So helping a kid like that turn his idea, there's one thing I know how to do, right? At least I know my limits. Turns out I'm pretty good at taking ideas and turning them into profitable companies. So if that, you said, what are the limits? The limits are, if you need help launching something, a business or even a charity, a nonprofit, launching stuff is what I'm good at. So that's what I took that year off to do. And wherever the next phone call came, if that was that type of call, I said, sure, I'll be right there.
Yeah, amazing. What was your experience that just arriving? I'm going to digress for a second. What was your experience arriving in Dakar in Senegal? Have you been there before?
I had not.
I've been there lots of times. The South African Airways flies through there on the way to North America. I've been there loads and loads of times. It's a great place. So
it was. I wasn't sure what to expect at all. In fact, I was kind of a funny story, because when I went out to the village, I have some really good pictures. The young man said to me, "Can I get you a cold drink?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Yeah, we don't have any." I said, why would you ask that? And he said, I was just making a point. So that's how it started. It was funny. And he was 19, Mustafa. And Alex, I had just given a speech at Stanford in Silicon Valley. And this kid was smarter than any of the people I had just talked to, the kids I met at the same age in Stanford. And it brought me a huge realization that intelligence is equally distributed across the planet Earth, but opportunity is not, right?
Sure.
So when you think of a village in West Africa with no electricity, you automatically, I'm just being real, you automatically think less of those people. They're not Stanford kids. They're not that kind of smart. Actually, they may be way smarter, right? They were just born there, but that doesn't mean their ideas are any less. They just have no way to start them. So it changed my life in the sense that I'm standing in West Africa and I'm saying, wow, good ideas are everywhere. I need to get out more. And in fact, the organization I'm chairman of today, the Global Entrepreneurship Network, there's a reason that we work with entrepreneurs. We're now in almost 180 countries because we realize the world needs to harvest the intelligence and ideas of everybody everywhere, not just developed countries.
Sure, and you've got quite a strong foothold. Was this first experience giving you a nice positive boost to say, well, Africa must be definitely on this? Because I know you've been out to South Africa a few times and your network through Africa is quite strong as well. Was it a kickstart of, let's say, well, let's not map out the first world, let's map out the whole world?
Yes, that's exactly right. And matter of fact, for Global Entrepreneurship Network, Jen, for our organization, the first physical accelerator, the first physical startup center we built in the world is in Joburg. It's called 22 on Sloan, and we built an accelerator to grow South African entrepreneurs right there in Johannesburg, run by an amazing young South African on our team, a young man named Kazito. Okay. So yeah, we decided that what you just said you said it exactly right. We need to enable the whole world, not just the West.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. We're getting lots of people joining us and commenting through, saying hello and thank you, inspiring. But Yandre is asking, what made you start? And I suppose that kind of touched on the point earlier on where you were saying, you'd studied engineering, but entrepreneurship grabbed you. And I suppose at the time when you said we're talking about the tech company. So now that we understand a bit of where we are, maybe we can bounce around even further in this interview. Okay, so you get that first taste of entrepreneurship, and what successes did you feel or experience that you said, this is it and this is for me? Because let's face it, it's not a walk in the park setting up something and working 20-hour days, 7 days a week. So what was the taste of victory that allowed you to keep going?
All right, so it was never money. To answer that question, what made me want to start? It was never money. You know what it was? It was freedom. And I'm going to tell you, I'll do this quickly. A life-changing story at my corporate job. And again, there's no right or wrong. The company I worked with. So one day the boss comes into the engineering area. There's 1 million of us in cubicles. And it's like an engineer farm. And he comes out and he calls me. He says, Hoffman. I was like, how does he even know my name? It's the big boss, Alex. And my friends are all, wow, he knows your name. So I go over there and he says, there's a management slot open at this engineering company. I said, yes, sir. He said, do you want that promotion to management? I said, everyone in the building does. And he said, well, I'm going to tell you how I pick who's getting promoted. And I said, okay. And he pointed out the window and he said, you know what's out there? Well, it was the parking lot. I said, cars. And he said, right. And he said, here's how I pick who's going to be management. At the end of every day before I leave, I come and I look out this window and I look to see whose car is last. The last car in the lot. That's the person I'm going to make management. I said, why? And he said, because that's the person most dedicated to this company. I said, no, that car is Brian's and he's a moron. He can't finish his work, so he's here late. And he didn't say a word. And I said, why am I being penalized because I'm good at my job and I can actually go home and see my family on time? And he didn't say a word. And he said, I hope you learned something from me today. And I said, oh, I sure did. And he said, so what are you going to do? And I said, I'm just going to buy a second car and leave it here. Okay. Well, he didn't think that was funny. I did. And that was the end of my corporate career. And so when I walked out, I said, I need to be able to, I don't want to ever feel like this again, because now everyone's like, you're in trouble. You need to go beg his forgiveness for your paycheck. So what I wanted was freedom. I didn't want to ever have to work somewhere that I didn't believe in. I didn't want to work for people I didn't believe in. By the way, my boss, I'm just being very honest, I think he had racism issues and gender issues. I don't think he thought people that weren't white males were as smart, and I couldn't stand being in that environment. So I said, I will never work in a place like this again. I want freedom. And so it occurred to me, I never said, Alex, I want to be an entrepreneur. What I said was, I want to work for a company where we focus on customers, not management, not impressing management. And I want to work for a company where there is no gender, no race, no ethnicity, nothing but the value you bring to the world as a human being. And then a thought occurred to me, why don't you just go make that company? Instead of trying to find a job that doesn't exist, why don't you create the job you've always wanted? So that's what made me start, the desire to design the job I want, the company I want to work for, and to have the freedom. That's where the financial part came in. If I do well, I have the freedom to never have to bow my head and say, yes, sir, to a man like that, my boss, ever again.
Well, that's a good story. And some comments coming through. Thanks, friends, joining us. He's saying, well, I think Jeff is funny. I agree. Entertaining. Now, I'm gonna jump around some more and pick into some areas. Can you please share with those who don't know yet about the story of the ship and this tackling the world's problem on a ship around? Well, I think it was in Australia where I caught up with.
Oh, you saw that picture, yeah. So I already mentioned that I'm the chairman of the Global Entrepreneurship Network. Again, this is a network of people in 180 countries whose sole goal it is to help anybody anywhere that wants to start their own venture start it. We help build entrepreneurial ecosystems to support you. But I'm also the founding board member of an organization called the Unreasonable Group. And we named it that after a George Bernard Shaw quote, where George Bernard Shaw said, a reasonable person adapts to the world around him. An unreasonable person expects the world to adapt to them. Therefore, all progress is dependent upon unreasonable people. So we decided, let's go find all the people crazy enough to think they can change the world and help them do it. So that's what Unreasonable is. That's our other organization. So at Unreasonable, we honestly, fundamentally believe that entrepreneurs are the people that are going to solve the world's biggest problems. In fact, Unreasonable, we focus on social entrepreneurship. If you are an entrepreneur listening now, and you are building, you can align it to the United Nations 17 SDGs, the goals, right? If you are helping make the world a better place, we want to help you. We mentor, we bring financing, and in fact, to date in Unreasonable, in our portfolio, we have over 200 companies doing business in 187 countries, and we've collectively raised over $4 billion in financing to put money in the hands of the people we believe are going to change the world. Those people, by the way, have positively impacted 354 million people in the world. So who are the change makers? We want to help them. So we were trying to prove a point about entrepreneurs and about the millennial generation. And that's this. If we showed you the world's problems, would you do something? Would you fix them? We wanted to prove that entrepreneurs are the people that fix problems, not complaining about them, right? Sure. Governments care, but they're too slow. Big corporations are too slow. Entrepreneurs, I sort of showed you the mini model. I was standing in an airport and I said, no, not this. And I went home and designed a solution. We believe entrepreneurs will do that if they knew how the world lived. So the crazy idea we had, and this was our CEO, Daniel Epstein. Daniel's like, what if I see you, Sean. Sean says he's one of those unreasonable people.
Is he one of your team? Or is he shouting out, pick me, pick me?
So what we decided to do was prove our point. We decided to chart a ship, load it with entrepreneurs, sail around the world, stop in different countries, see the world's problems. And by the way, the fifth deck of this ship had a startup lab in it, and allow entrepreneurs to build and grow companies that created solutions to the world's biggest problems. It was probably one of the coolest things, Alex, I've ever done in my life. We sailed all over the world, and we launched and grew companies to solve real problems in the world. It was absolutely incredible. It took, by the way, turns out it took, I think the planet should have one of those little signs that a mirror has. Earth is larger than it appears on maps. Because it took 101 days to circumnavigate the globe, to sail that ship you saw a picture of to sail it around the earth, stopping in different countries. But it was incredible. Entrepreneurs really are the solution to the world's biggest problems.
And any sort of projects that spring to mind that was kicked off on that ship, 101 Days of Sailing, that are sustainably going?
Yeah, we have some amazing ones. There was for example, Solar Ear. In crossing through Africa, then they're finding out that there are 2.3 million deaf people in Africa. And then our entrepreneurs reading about, this is an example, reading about the fact that the World Health Organization, the UN, they once delivered hearing aids all over Africa, which was great because, millions of people could hear for 30 days. And then, by the way, they had a waste problem because they all threw the batteries on the ground. There's really nowhere to buy batteries. There's not a convenience store in the Serengeti. So battery-powered hearing aids did not help Africa. So one of our startup teams created a solar-powered hearing aid. While you wear it all day, it charges, and then it runs all night. It costs about 1/20th of what a normal hearing aid costs, and it weighs almost nothing. And what's even better was they built factories to build these in Africa, staffed 100% by deaf people, because in Africa, most deaf people can't even get a job. So there's an example of entrepreneurs saying, the way the world is today is not acceptable, but we can fix it.
That's amazing. That's a great story. Yeah. Jordan is joining us as well. Hi, Jordan. He says, hi, Jeff. How do entrepreneurs navigate the minefield of corporate red tape when a lucrative opportunity is stunting progress?
A lot of times, it's a really good question, which is, we almost always tell entrepreneurs, now I'm going to get in trouble, Alex. I'm going to need to borrow your plane to get away. For both governments and large corporates, most of the time we tell them, the old adage that it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. Sometimes instead of sorting our way through the red tape, we just build the answer. And I have had companies in my early career that came to me. I was trying to build, there's a perfect example of that exact story. When I went originally to the airlines, when I was building those check-in kiosks, and I said this, you can imagine their reaction. I'm some little unknown entrepreneur, 20-something-year-old engineer. And I said, I need access to your back end. I need to access all your live airline inventory. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, never. And they said, what for? I said, because I'm trying to build these things, right? These kiosks, and I need to pull up people. They're like, no. I wasted time trying to get through corporate red tape to convince them. So I said, forget this. I just built it anyway. Yeah. And then I'm just going to tell you the truth here now because the statute of limitations has expired. I actually took basically the terminal off of a travel agent's computer, accessed the back end of the airline system, pulled it down, and built a live kiosk. And guess what happened? They called me and said, we're suing you. You're going to jail. We're shutting you down. I did not ask permission. And I said, okay, fine, you can do all those things. But before you do, will you look at this? And they said, oh my God, that thing is amazing. You built that? And I said, yes, but I need access to your data. And they said, we'd like to place an order and we'd like to introduce you to our IT team.
Wonderful.
Permission is hard to get. But if you can show the world instead of waving your arms and asking them, if you can build something, and many times we just went ahead and people said, well, that's pretty amazing. And we said, great, we could do it a lot easier if you'd actually help us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good story, and it's a great way to answer Jordan's question. Thanks. I just want to sit on there for a bit. There's some more questions coming, but on this kiosk, because I think this kiosk really has revolutionized the travel industry, the passenger experience, and it must make a massive saving for the airline side of things too. I mean, they don't have to have the queuing. You're back home before you do it. The night before, all those things. I mean. You travel through airports, well, not currently, but regularly. You'll be traveling through it. Do you smile when you walk past one of them? Is that one of those crowning moments?
You know what I like the most, Alex? Sometimes I'll get a text or an email, and it's just a photo of somebody standing next to the kiosk in some airport in the world, and it just says thanks. So I always get a kick out of getting those. For your listeners. My email is just jeff@jeffhoffman.com. Easy enough to find me next time you find yourself in the airport, or my Twitter is just Speaker Jeff. LinkedIn which we're on right now, is actually where I spend most of my time on LinkedIn more than any other platform. But yeah, it's part of the fulfillment of entrepreneurship when you close the loop and finish something, and it helps make anybody's day easier. That's part of the reason to be an entrepreneur, to be a problem solver, is the opportunity to actually have a positive impact.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I know that story of the saying no that evolved, and that 1 year turned into 5 years. So, were you having fun? Were there just so many sort of pending problems, or how did you evolve?
Alex, both. What happened was it turned out to be the best years of my life. And even though I said I'm going to take 12 months off at the end of the year, I said, you know what, I'll do another year. And at the end of that year, my friends were like, when are you coming home? Because I was on a world tour. I said, you know what, I'll stretch this a few more months, which went into another year. So my 12-month, I did 5 years of my 12-month year of yes. But the reason why is because it was the most amazing experiences of my life. I was meeting incredible people and traveling literally in every continent, in every country. And in Africa, I did North, West, South, and East Africa. And I was, meeting the quality. I fundamentally believe that the quality of your life is 100% determined by the quality of people in it, right? It's not what you're doing, it's the people you're surrounded with. And so I started, I have family in Ghana, I have family in South Africa now. I mean, people that said to me, we feel like, because I spent time with them, you're family. The same thing in Tanzania, the same thing. I was on the phone on a Zoom like this the other day, helping a bunch of people in DRC in Congo. So the more people I met, the more I'm going to use this word, the richer I became, because it isn't the money that that keeps you warm at night or is there for you when you're depressed. It's people that care about you. So that's why I kept doing it, because I met so many cool people. And it made me feel like the luckiest person on the planet, that I have friends I literally have friends in 100 different countries now. And I can't imagine anything cooler than that. I just was very pleased.
And that kind of speaks to it, but maybe you can just tie up the last part of this question. Quibus is asking, what is your opinion on support teams? Some people aren't necessarily the entrepreneurs with the ideas, but they are just that perfect fit in a puzzle. How do entrepreneurs surround themselves with people that elevate them further?
Okay, so I am so glad we got to that. And obviously it's a big reason, like I said, Alex, why I wanted to join you today based on, the title. The key, when people ask me all the time, keys to success as an entrepreneur and to building companies, number one on my list by a long shot is surround yourself with people smarter than you and get out of their way. I learned this lesson later. I thought my job was to run the business. And I discovered that if you spend less, take a portion of your time and stop running the business and allocate a portion of your time to go out and find people smarter than you and then take care of them. I want to share with you a quick story, because I used to write the entrepreneurship and innovation column for Inc. magazine. And one day they said, write about teams. And I wrote an article. If you want to read it, it's called Hire the Best and Pick Up Their Laundry. And I'm going to share the story with you really quick. If you want to read it, go to inc.com and just Google my name. It's still out there, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. So I was on the road one day and my team called and they said, Jeff, we met this 20-year-old whiz kid developer, tech guy. And I said, don't wait for me, just hire him, right? So I get back in town and the 20-year-old kid they're working, they hired him. And I am, in the morning, I spend the morning looking at his work, right, to see what he's doing. And at lunch, I walk down the hall and he's in there with the other developers writing code. They're building a product. And I've been looking at it in the morning. And I go in there and it's lunchtime. So I say to the team, by the way, the kid does not know who I am. He doesn't know I'm the CEO. He doesn't know I own the company. Never met. So he doesn't know who I am. I walk in the room and it's lunchtime. So I said, can I get you guys anything? Well, the 20-year-old kid glances at me, again, doesn't know I own the company or anything. And he said, would you do me a favor? Would you go pick up my dry cleaner, my dry cleaning? And everyone in the room's like, all my employees are like, oh my God, this poor kid just stepped on a landmine, right? What a horrible mistake. So they're all looking at me, Alex, to see what I'm going to say. And I said to him, sure, where's the ticket? And he said, it's on my chair. So I walk out. A few minutes later, I'm in the parking lot. My vice presidents, my two of them come running out. Jeff, we're so sorry. He didn't know who you were. Please don't fire him. He's doing, he's a brilliant kid. Don't fire him. He didn't know. And I was like, why would I fire him? And they're like, because you're mad. I said, why do you think I'm mad? They said, because you stormed out of the building. I said, I didn't storm out of the building. And they said, why are you outside? I said, I'm going to pick up the kid's dry cleaning, right? And I said, let me tell you, they said, you're picking up that kid's dry cleaning? I said, I just looked at his work. That kid is designing the most brilliant product I've ever seen. That kid's going to triple the size of our company. It's going to make more revenues. Customers are going to love us. I said, his work is absolutely brilliant. I said, so not only am I going to go pick up his dry cleaning, but if you guys need me after lunch, I'll be out back washing that kid's car. Okay? Your job is to build the place where the best people in your industry all want to work for you and never want to leave. So back to the question, you don't have to know how to do everything. One day, somebody said, Jeff, you're an engineer, but you're the CEO. Do you understand balance sheets and finance? I said, honestly, no, I never took finance. I took engineering. And they said, well, you have to know that to be an entrepreneur. So I went to the bookstore and I bought a book called Finance and Accounting for Non-Finance People. And I'm all excited. I get home, I'm going to learn finance. I open the book to page 1, Alex, and I'm like, this might be one of the stupidest things I've ever done. What is it I'm going to do next? Buy a book called How to Be a Dentist and start pulling people's teeth? No, I'm not a finance guy. Why are you pretending? So if you have a tech idea and you don't know tech, go get somebody that does. You can't do it yourself anyway. You're never as smart as you think you are. So spend your time finding people smarter than you and take good care of them and you will win. Our company's won because I hired people that were way smarter than me, and I went and picked up their laundry if they needed it. And I made sure they loved being at work. And I did my part, Alex. I'm only good at one thing. All of us are. My thing is marketing. If you stay in your lane and let everybody else do their thing, you will win. You don't need to know everything. You can't anyway.
Okay, so that then circles back to Jordan's question earlier. So Jordan, I'll be fetching your dry cleaning soon. We'll have a chat afterwards. Okay, that's great. We got Anushka is asking, how do you motivate yourself to be in entrepreneurship during COVID?
For me, let me tell you, it was easy to be motivated. I've been working longer days than I ever have, and here's why. So many people are suffering all over the world. COVID is shutting down businesses. I did an event 2 weeks ago where we did a live event like this where I was talking to entrepreneurs actually in probably 50 of 54 or whatever it is African countries. I did one for African entrepreneurs. I did one for Latin American in the US. So many people, entrepreneurs and small business owners, are suffering right now. They don't know what to do next, where to go. Their business is shut down. So for me, since the primary commitment I made for the rest of my life is helping people achieve their epic life, right? Helping you, people like you, Anushka, get to where you're trying to go, then there's never been a more important time for me than during COVID, where people need way more help than they used to. A quick example. We found in the US that many small business owners, especially from underserved communities, women-owned businesses, were not getting the government money. Black people of color, Black-owned businesses were not getting our government's money. Well, I'm talking about startups and small business owners, Latino, Hispanic-owned, LGBTQ-owned, veteran-owned. All these all these segments of the population are not getting money from the U.S. government to keep alive, and they literally can't feed their families. It got that bad. 2 million businesses, small businesses in the second quarter alone, shut their doors permanently in the U.S. So, you know, you already know that we have kind of a just do something attitude here. So we started at our organization, we started a grant program. And we just started giving away $10,000 cash to as many entrepreneurs as we could who literally can't feed themselves now. It's not a loan like the US government, it's cash. And it's not government money, it's our money that we put together to do this. And so it's been so fulfilling to be able to call people who literally can't eat anymore because they're entrepreneurs and they have no business during COVID, and tell them, you know, if you could feed your family for a while on $10,000 cash, if you really need this, we'll send it to you. Some of you might have seen that because one of my best friends is a partner with me in that, and that's I don't know what kind of music you listen to, Alex, but it's Pitbull. Pitbull's a rapper. He sings Fireball and all these other songs. Pitbull and I recorded a bunch of television commercials telling people that were hurting the most, small business owners and entrepreneurs, how to find us so that they could apply for these $10,000 grants. So being able to do something to help people right now has been really, really important to me. And we're about to take that global. So you should see that program in Africa soon.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Is this the Unreasonable Group? Is this Jen or is this separate? Jen, okay.
Yeah, it's Jen and our partners with a small business firm, friends that are called Hello Alice. It's a firm that originally started helping women launch businesses, but now they help all business owners. So it's Jen, Hello Alice, and then myself and Pitbull fronting this thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's some great news. I want to get into the music as well, music and TV. I mean, you've got books, you've got speaking, but you touched on your skills as being in marketing, and I'll just share my insight as an airline pilot. No doubt that many airline pilots around the world are without work, and I had been building up a platform on this high performance teams on LinkedIn for a while, and that's how we connected. And at a point where there was enough energy around the brand, it was a chance for me to step out and share the message on a wider platform, YouTube, now LinkedIn Live. At the same time, we've managed to reach almost a critical mass that if I put a post out there, I get a response. So if I'm looking for someone to assist me with a project, or I'm busy with a project and someone has interest, then they reach out. And that's where Jordan features in this point too, is that we've recently, we've changed the model of certain industries, and we started a new project recently on the back of LinkedIn, and it's also on the back of COVID. And a lot of people are without a work. People are reaching out. I see you doing something there. Can I also get involved? Have you got an opportunity for me? I might have 2 degrees and a financial manager, but I'm prepared to move boxes around a warehouse floor. I've been a logistics manager for many years in corporate, but I'll help you on your customer care project. So that's the things that I've been experiencing, and it's been fulfilling to be able to help other people, at the same time create something new, and at the same time help the client who's trying to get a job done. So it's almost like this trifecta.
Well, that is fantastic, and that's what people need to be doing during COVID. Innovate a little bit, come up with a new business idea, and like you just did in the example you had with Jordan. This is the time we need to be neighbors to each other, right? People need to reach out, and people need to find a way to help each other. And so it's great that you're able to do something that creates opportunities for people that are looking for them. That's exactly what we should be doing during COVID, is saying, can I help in any way, and how? And that's clearly what you're doing there.
Yeah, that's and so people are joining in, and with all the experiences and stories you're sharing there, Evan is saying, with all those experiences, Jeff is most certainly more than 300 years old.
So Evan, thank you. Well, I don't know, am I thanking Evan for that comment? It's funny. I do have an answer for that, Alex, because I have had people that met me and said, because we started our music company and our film and our television, and someone said, I just thought you were going to be, not that I'm young by any means, but they said, I thought you were going to be way older than you are. And I'll tell you why I'm not. Let me put it that way. It's because I learned to fail fast. And I learned to fail fast when I learned to leave my ego at home. The reason that a lot of entrepreneurs don't get a lot done is because when it's not working, their ego prevents them from saying it was just a bad idea. You know why? Because you told all your family and friends, oh my God, these kiosks are going to be the most, whatever your idea is, going to be the most amazing thing ever. Wait till you see this company. It's going to be huge. And then it turns out you were wrong. And then that means you have to go back to everybody and get laughed at. Okay, it failed. I'm like, oh, your brilliant idea that's going to save the world failed. People are afraid of that. I'm not afraid of that. Don't fear failure. Fear not trying. If you try something and you fail, you can shake it off and start the next thing. But everybody else that was afraid, that said, see, I told you, that's why I never leave the safety of my couch to try anything, because they might fail. Those people will never achieve anything, right? The safe route, again, this is a DNA thing. I'm not telling you what's right or wrong. But I was never afraid of failure. What I was afraid was, let's take the movie company. When I started that, I wasn't afraid that it would probably fail statistically. What I was afraid was, if I didn't even try, the whole rest of my life, every time I go to a movie theater, I would think, man, I wonder if this could have been me. Failing, you can get over it. Never trying sits in your gut the whole rest of your life, and you wonder what you could have been. Just find out. If you can't be that, you can shake it off, but don't spend your whole life wondering what you could have made of yourself. So I've never brought an ego. When I'm wrong and people laugh at me, I say, you're right, I'm an idiot, that's such a bad idea. And then I just go start something else.
That's good. That also speaks a bit to the Brené Brown's message of vulnerability. You're not going to reach those high highs if you don't put a little bit out there. The same thing as sitting on the couch and staying safe, shallow waters.
No guts, no glory.
Yeah. I want to talk a bit about the music industry before I forget. So how is it that you got into music?
So, and by the way, I got that no guts, no glory from a mentor of mine who was an F-16 fighter pilot.
Awesome. Sounds like a good man already.
He constantly would shake his head and say, no guts, no glory. So one day he made me a sign for my office. He had actually done combat duty and everything. So I never forgot that saying. So the music industry, here's the thing. So many people accept the fact that your job, and I'm going to use this word, your dreams are mutually exclusive. The cool things you want to do with your life, your definition of an epic life, not anyone else's. People, the cool stuff you want to do is stuff that if there's any time left over on the weekend and you have any money and you're not too tired, then you can go do the thing you always wanted to do. And so a lot of people are like, someday I'll retire and go do blank, whatever it is they want to do. Quit accepting that. Quit accepting that your job and your dreams are mutually exclusive. Instead, the beauty of being an entrepreneur is we get to design our own job. So why don't you just design a job that allows you to live your dreams? That was my premise, right?
Okay.
I need to be a responsible adult and make money, but I also want to live my version of an epic life. So I'm at a concert one day. This dude goes out on stage and 30,000 people there. And he says, are you people ready to rock? And everybody's screaming. And I turned to my friend. I was like, who's that? And they're like, he's the producer. It's his show. And I said, I want to be that guy. My friends are all laughing at me. There goes Jeff with another good dream. It's never going to happen. They're like, Jeff, you're a software engineer, right? You're not a music guy. It's not going to work. I said, well, I wasn't going to sing, right? But I could probably be in the music business and I could be part of this nut production. I could be that producer. He's not singing. He didn't dance or write the music, but he's in the business. So they're all shaking their head, laughing at me again. So I said, what if I took, you know what people told me, Alex? They said, you're not a music guy, you're a business guy. And then people kept telling me, you know, how hard it is to succeed in the music biz. And I was like, maybe those two things are related. Maybe the reason a lot of people are starving artists in the music biz is because they haven't partnered with a business person. So I said, I'm going to take the principles of entrepreneurship, and instead of a kiosk, the product is a song. And instead of a programmer, the developer is a piano player, right? See what I'm saying? It's just a team and it's a product. And instead of an airline, the audience is a bunch of college students on Friday night, right? Every piece of the business is still a market, a product, financing, developing, marketing, promotion. I was like, why can't I do this? So I started a production company to do concerts and tours. And I'll just share two quick things how it ended. One night, that first concert I went to, where I said to my friend, who's that guy? It was Elton John. And many years later, I had become friends with Elton John. And we were backstage doing a charity concert together. And Elton said to me, Jeff, go out there and introduce me. Let's do this thing. And I walked out on stage and I looked around me and there were 30,000 screaming fans. By the way, not only including all my friends, but including all the haters. All the people that laughed at me when I said I was going to start a music company.
Sent them the VIP tickets.
They all asked for tickets. And by the way, you never say no to those people, your haters. You upgrade them to VIP. The ultimate revenge is I gave all the haters VIP tickets and they just stared at me with their mouths open. I said, enjoy the concert. It never could happen, right? Because you laughed at me. Anyway, I go out there and I hear somebody say, are you people ready to rock? And I was like, oh my God, from that first concert. That's the same voice. And then, Alex, I realized that was me. I was like, oh my God, I am the guy on the stage producing this thing. And then the last part was we were blessed enough. The music company worked. We did tours with NSYNC and Britney Spears and people like Elton John and Boyz II Men. And then later we produced some music, and a few years ago actually won a Grammy. And I was standing on the red carpet at the Grammys, and we had just won a Grammy. And somebody, all the paparazzi, all the silliness, and somebody yelled to me, Jeff, how do you feel right now? And I actually said, Alex, I said, this is the dream of software engineers everywhere. And everybody's like, what? And the people on the red carpet with the little headphones are like, dude, can you shut up? You're killing the vibe. And I was like, never mind. And I just left. But it was just one of these moments, because if you accept the limitations the rest of the world puts on you, don't let someone else tell you what you're capable of, where the height of your performance is. Just give it a shot. If you fail, shake it off, fail fast, and go do something else. You have to take risks to hit those highs, but it's worth it, because if I had accepted everybody telling me not to try, I never would have stood on that red carpet.
Oh, that's a great, great story. It aligns with my thinking as well. So thank you for sharing that. Oh, it's amazing. So I'm going to put you on the spot briefly now. Seeing as you're friends with Elton John, or certainly you spend time with Elton John. I'm trying to get hold of Dave Matthews. He's a South African. He's an artist. Can you hook me up to interview him, please?
Actually, Alex, I think yes. Dave and I were on a board of a charity together for years called Music for Tomorrow that he was on with me. So I can certainly send him a message. So send me a message separately.
I'll do that. Thank you.
I'm surprised, because we were involved in this one tour with Beyonce, and all everybody ever wanted me to do was take them backstage to hang out with Beyonce. So DMB, that's a better one. Proud of you.
Why? Do you know why? Well, firstly, he's South African. Secondly, he does great music. But thirdly, look at his ensemble cast. He is literally a high-performance team. It's a big band. There's musicians filling the whole stage, and it just seems like a wonderful team.
But you know what? When people ask me, because since I was part of way back in the beginning, things like NSYNC and Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears, when people asked us why those bands succeeded, it wasn't because there were people singing on a stage. It was because there was an entire team, from designers to lawyers to accountants to marketers to choreographers, producers. There was a complete team of people. In fact, I tell this story. I know we're about out of time, but I show this picture sometimes, because we did a tour with Britney Spears. And I show 4 girls. 3 of them are singing in the shower at home, and one of them is Britney Spears on stage in Vegas. And I say, if I were to rate these 4 girls in terms of singing talent, Britney Spears would come in 4th. She's a good singer. She's not a great singer. So why is she Britney Spears and these other girls are singing at home in their shower? And the answer is the team that we had back then. There was a team wrapped around a product that was solid in every single part of the business. She did her job. She was a great performer, right? A good singer, but a great performer. But without that team around her, there's so many people that are honestly probably more talented than her, but they're at their waitress job because they don't have a team around them. Team is everything.
They don't have the team. That's right. Oh, that's a good story, and it resonates nicely with me with high performance teams. So my father-in-law is joining us. Jock, hi there again. Hi, Alex. The world needs more people like you and Jeff. Great show in these difficult times. Keep going. Thanks for joining us again.
That's your father-in-law?
That's it, yes.
And he likes you? Alex, that's amazing.
That's a good start.
Thank you for saying that. Seriously, I agree with you about Alex. That's why I'm here with him today.
Thanks, Jeff. I enjoy that. And here we go. Heinrich is saying, Jeff, Alex, thanks. This is great. Question for Jeff. What is your next dream?
I've been thinking about...
You're 300 years old now. You've done a lot of things.
I've been thinking about that a lot. And my next dream is really focused on youth. And it became more prevalent in COVID. Youth are not at the tables when we're solving the world's problems. And where it came up for me is that everybody's talking about school will never be the same, and we're redesigning the future of school. But I spend a lot of time with kids. I visit schools all over the world. And kids are saying literally, Alex, they're saying, anybody want to hear our ideas? And I was like, wait a minute, we're designing the future of the school in a boardroom with no kids in it? Really? Because the assumption is we're the adults, we're the teachers, we're the educators, we know what's best for them. Maybe, just maybe, they know what's good for them and they have ideas. So my next dream, we're forming something brand new called Dream Tank, kind of named after Shark Tank in that same sense. And we're building a sort of a global network of problem-solving youth. My next dream is to try to connect young people all over the world and bring them into solving the world's problems. As a matter of fact, Alex, I'll tell you this. I'm doing an event that Pitbull and I are both doing. Next month this fall is the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. and we got approval to do a global youth takeover during the UN's 75th birthday celebration. So we're going to have kids from all over the world come to the United Nations via virtual reality, and actually represent the world's youth at the UN. It'll be easy to find. They'll be on media all over the world. Facebook's carrying it, TikTok's carrying it, everybody is, but I'll make sure you have the info if people want to tune in. That's my next dream, is to enable youth to be part of the decision-making process in many industries where they are not today.
That's amazing, and I love two things there. One being that the takeover concept is beautiful. It brings a different energy, and it's wonderful, especially on such a big state platform. This established old thing on a big celebration. But also it speaks to your have the curiosity mindset of your TED Talk once again. Ask the questions of a child and go through that. So I encourage the listeners to have a look for your TED Talk.
They think unlimited, right? They don't have filters, which is a lot of times a really good way to think. Don't start with no and why it won't work. Start with a crazy idea and go back from there. Kids do that automatically because they don't know it won't work.
And I just want to share with you the response from my listeners. Fran is saying, wow, Dave Matthews. And another Ella is saying, wow, Dave Matthews. Sasha is saying, wow, Dave Matthews. Jordan is saying, I'll second the Dave Matthews interview. So you're on for this, huh?
All right. He is obviously a great guy. And we put together we had a charity for many years called Music for Tomorrow, just making sure that music education and the arts isn't lost on future generations that get so left-brained because of technology that they forget the right side of their brain and things like creating music. And Dave was involved in that with me, along with Jude Law, the actor, was also on that with me. So anyway, we'll get a message to Dave.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And Sasha, who also enjoys Dave Matthews, is saying, how can our children participate in the takeover?
Just email me and I will connect you to, we have people, we have a team of people around the world that are coordinating the youth that are participating, and we'd be happy to include you. So you can just send me an email and I'll forward it to the team. Again, it's just jeff@jeffhoffman.com.
Thanks. And Sasha, that's great. I'm glad you are enjoying the show with us. And Jeff is very good at responding to mail, so that's wonderful. Jordan is tying it all up, saying, thanks, Jeff. I'm certainly inspired by your energy and insight in identifying opportunities and to solving challenges and making a difference. And I also want to echo that sentiment, Jordan. Thank you so much. It's been such a wonderful conversation. You've got many talents and connected to many people, and you bring a lot of energy to the show and to the projects that you get involved in. But you also sell it you tell it in a nice way. You're funny and personable, and it's been a treat chatting with you today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh, you know what? Before we go, I thought of another dream that will never happen. I never did get to fly a fighter jet. When I was a kid, that was it. So you took that one. At least one of us did that. Combined between us, at least we got to fly.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next time you come out to South Africa, maybe we should try and rectify that situation too. So we have to talk about off air, and we'll tie it up from there. Is there any planned trip besides the COVID traveling? Do you come to South Africa once a year, checking in on your team here, or is it all remote now?
Nope. Obviously, I haven't since COVID, but yeah, I was about to come over there anyway. As a matter of fact, on that ship, we stopped in Cape Town, and guess who got on the ship because he thought what we were doing was so cool? Archbishop Desmond Tutu boarded our ship full of the entrepreneurs in Cape Town, and I think we dropped him off. I think he stayed all the way around the other side to Morocco. I think we dropped him off in Casablanca, and he went home. But he actually joined that ship when we stopped in South Africa because he wanted to help. He was helping me mentor the people on the ship. So yes, I shall be back.
Wonderful. Well, when you come back, we'll get together.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it, and all the best.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Folks, thank you for joining. It's been a real treat having such a distinguished guest on board, selling great stories too. And I hope to catch you guys again next time. Until then, please stay safe. This episode is proudly brought to you by Optimum Financial Services Group. Optimum has the expertise to guide you through investment, tax, retirement, and estate planning, with a tailored solution to your individual needs. Our objective is to provide you with an optimum solution to protect your wealth. Optimum has expertise in medical aid, legal services, asset finance, and short-term insurance, as well as specialized services in commercial, marine, aviation, and personal liability. Don't choose the average. Choose Optimum. Optimum Financial Services Group is an authorized financial services provider.